Well, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. Welcome to this week's edition of our Koala Wednesday webinars. Each week, come together for an hour where I'll walk through a particular feature or a topic relating to ChatGPT. We'll then have an opportunity to talk about some of the news that's gone on in the last 7 days in the world of AI, and then the opportunity for you to ask your questions about anything. Could be something that you're trying to build or trying to use in ChatGPT. All questions are open. So as we go through, you'll see in your Zoom webinar bar up at the top, there's a Q&A section, so you can ask Q&A there, and I will hopefully notified, and I'll keep a close eye on it. And you'll also see there's a raise your hand, and if you've got a question where you'd like to join the floor, then we can invite you in as a panelist. Definitely keep those questions coming as we go through, even though we've got a Q&A section at the end. If there's something that you want to ask about some of the topics I'm talking about, then feel free to ask your question. So this week, as I say, we've got three sections. We're going to be talking about ChatGPT Accelerators. These webinars are not really an opportunity for us to talk about the Koala platform, but the accelerators that we have in the platform are super helpful for helping teams to get accelerated, get going faster with ChatGPT. And so we're going to be showing you a little bit about how they work, what an accelerator is, and how you can put them into your ChatGPT workspace. We'll then spend about 15 minutes looking at AI in the news, and there's been a lot going on in the last couple of weeks, so we can bring you up to speed so that you're aware of what is happening. And then, as I say, 20 or 30 minutes, depending on how long we spend on the previous sections, to dive into some Q&A. ChatGPT accelerators. One of the biggest challenges that we often see at the start of a company rolling out ChatGPT, or indeed any AI platform, is the tyranny of the blank space. People just don't know what to type. When I was growing up, I'm one of four children, and I was sibling number three after a gap of 6 years from the previous two. And so when I was growing up, I was faced with a big box of Lego bricks that were sort of hand-me-downs from my older siblings. And faced with this box of bricks, I'm like, well, what am I going to build? What am I going to build? My imagination defeated me, and I'd end up building the same four-walled square house with a flat roof every single time, because I just couldn't quite visualize what was possible. Now that I'm a parent with four kids, well, especially with Christmas coming up, it's boxes like this all over the place. And it's the box itself that guides you into what you're going to build. The Lego kit. Is it a JCB? Is it Millennium Falcon? Is it an ambulance? As you open up that box and you've got all of the bricks inside, you've got a vision of what you're going to create. And this is very much the challenge that I think of when I think about ChatGPT, that people just don't know what to type or what to create. But the reality is that whilst you may think that you and your role and your company are very individual, and I'm sure there are idiosyncrasies and nuances to the way that you work and that your company works, the reality is that the majority of what we see has been done before. So we can think of this across three different lenses. So horizontally, regardless of what company you're in, regardless of what industry you're in, the level of your seniority guides a lot of the things that you're doing. As a senior exec, you're likely to be doing some executive hiring. You're likely to defining strategy, either for the whole company or just for your division. You're probably attending board meetings, presenting to large groups of people. You might be dealing with fundraising. As a manager, you're also dealing with hiring and then coaching your direct reports. You're also including and reporting up to the senior executives and communicating what you're doing teams to seniors and down to your direct reports. And then as an individual contributor, regardless of your industry, you should be having one-to-ones regularly with your manager. You should be setting your goals, your objectives, your OKRs, planning, maybe presenting to customers or to other teams. You might be writing emails or proposals, support tickets, whatever that might be. And so these skills are transferable across companies, regardless of the type of company that you're in. We then see a kind of vertical split. And I think of this in kind of two ways. One is the industry. So maybe you work in manufacturing or finance and health, and there'll be certain tasks that you do as a company, whether that is compliance, know your customer, whether it is calculating various things, whether it is researching various clinical trials. There are certain things that you will be doing, regardless of the company that you work in, but because of the industry that you work in. And then within the company, we can look at different roles. Well, in finance, we know we're always doing monthly reconciliation, taking different spreadsheets from different systems, and we're having to reconcile them. We're having to forecast and budget and so on. In legal, we're always contracting. In HR, we're always writing job descriptions. So whilst your company is individual, it's differentiated, whilst the way that you work is differentiated, there's a lot of commonality that we see across companies about the types of things that you want to do in ChatGPT. And then the third dimension, which is regardless of any vertical or horizontal, is just people want to do things in ChatGPT, such as, I want to write a great prompt. I want to create a custom GPT. I want to set up a new project. I want to set up an agent on a scheduled task. I want to find a GPT. These are things that your users, as you roll out ChatGPT Enterprise, are going to want to do. And you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And this is where these accelerators come in. Because across those three dimensions, we've probably seen a lot of what you want to do before. So within the Koala platform, we've got what we call accelerators. And so let me just dive across there and I'll show you what they look like. So just as a reminder, you can sign up to the Koala platform for free, a trial, and you will get to see this view. So you just go to koala.com and then sign up. And then here I'm on the accelerators tab. So we've got a range of accelerators here across different use cases, and should be fairly easy for you to get a feel for what each of them are doing. Every time we're running a project with a client and we build something and we go, I think that has got reusability. We obviously strip out anything that's confidential or personal to that client, and we create an accelerator out of it. So what is an accelerator? Well, let me give you an example for this one here, an OKR writer. If you're not familiar with OKRs, it stands for Objective and Key Results. It's a goal-setting framework that was popularized in Google, and you set OKRs at the company level, and then each leader underneath that sets their own OKRs, and then each manager and then each individual filters down their OKRs. Now, it's great in theory, and I recommend you read the book Measure What Matters, which talks all about how OKRs work really well. The challenge in so many companies is that they don't have a real system for helping people at all levels of the business to write good OKRs. And so they end up mixing up what's an objective, what's a key result, what's an initiative. And so wouldn't it be great if we could create a GPT that helped everyone in the organization to write great OKRs? And so that's what this accelerator is, an OKR writer. And so we come into the accelerator and we can see some prerequisites. We can see some implementation instructions to explain how you create a GPT, which this is. And then we get into the core of the accelerator itself. It's the name, the description, the instructions, which is a detailed prompt all the way down. And this guides ChatGPT when you are using the GPT on how to write a great OKR. And then at the bottom, we've got some conversation starters here, which are useful for when you're setting up your GPT. So that is what a prompt is, or an accelerator is. Now, many of them have got a try it now button. And here, if I click try it now, this is going to open up that accelerator in the Koala platform. And it's going to ask, how do I use the OKR accelerator? Fastest way to get value from the OKR Writer Accelerator is to follow this guided process. Start by collecting your context, understanding how you're going to use OKRs in your organization. Do you have any parent OKRs from your manager or your company that would help to customize this? And then once you've got your context clear, then you can start using this tool. So I'm just going to say, okay, just let's do pretend. Can you help me to write my OKRs? I'm the founder of Koala. Okay, let's make this relevant and focused. And what this is going to do is then guide me through that process of creating my own OKRs. Now, I'm not going to do that here. The purpose of these ones that you can try is that you can then decide, okay, this is an an accelerator that I want to use. And so what you can then do is go here and copy the content. So I can copy that, or I can download it as Markdown. I'm going to just copy that content, and I'm going to nip over to my ChatGPT. And what I can do here is go explore, create, and then I can just copy in the core of this. So help me write my OKRs, help me improve my OKRs. What makes a good OKR? How do I use this GPT? And then if I scroll up to the top, I can just copy over the name. I can copy over the description. I'm going to give it a little image here. I don't need to do anything else. This is perfect. And then I'm going to click create and update. And in 3 seconds, just let this save. Let me just double check that again in case we've got an issue with the saving. Come along, ChatGPT. There we go. And then I can view my GPT. And here we are, OKR writer, created just now. Help me write my OKRs. And now this accelerator is here ready to go. Now, I've done that for this demo purpose of just copying that straight in. But what I would encourage you to do for all of these OKRs, so all of these accelerators, is to go through the instructions, and you'll see here that most of them have got lots of spaces for you to add in a bit of more of your context. So in this example, objective, obviously we want our company name. Context, add 1 or 2 bullet points about the context. Do you have any information about, obviously, your company, any company level OKRs, the calendar, anything that's going to be useful for someone that's using this GPT. Uploaded files. Maybe you've got your company strategy as a document that you're going to update. But this is stuff that you should have ready to go. You've probably got it lying around, and then this is just going to add a little bit more context and value to when you're using the accelerator. So think of this very much like those Lego kits I was talking about a minute ago. They are there to give you the starting point to going, that's a good idea. I'm going to use that. That's going to get me 80% of the way there. And now I can share this with everyone in my company, and it's going to get them out of that challenge of figuring out what is it that that we're going to use ChatGPT for. So let me back over to our deck. So there are the accelerators. You're going to have access to this deck, so it gives you an idea of what they look like. You can copy the prompt straight into your ChatGPT, and then you've got a GPT or a project or a prompt ready to go. As you're thinking about these accelerators and your own ideas for creating your own GPTs and projects, I always want to remind you of this bit of research that came out a few months ago. It was a bit of research done across millions of ChatGPT conversations, and they looked at what was the core of that conversation. Now, on the right-hand side, you've got writing, 28%. So often when I speak with businesses about what they're using ChatGPT for, or individuals in businesses, what they're using ChatGPT for, it's, oh, I'm using it to write emails, I'm using it to summarize notes, I'm using it to critique other people's writing. And this is the use case that people often talk about. But I want to draw your attention to both the green and the red bars. So the green bar is, I'm really looking for how-to advice, practical guidance. You know, how do I do this? How do I do that? What is the process? What is the policy? I'm trying to find something out. And then on the right-hand side with the red, it's specific information. You know, can I expense this? What is the pricing for that? It is specific information. So as you're thinking of taking these accelerators and converting them into your own scenarios, I would put yourself in the mind of the people in your company, your employees, that are going to ChatGPT, and reminding yourself that 50% of the time, which is the sum of these two bars, 50% of the time, they're asking, how do I do something? Or what is something? Asking for some specific information. So can we help them with GPTs or projects or a way of using ChatGPT that is going to help them with that? Whether that is writing OKRs, setting goals, preparing for a one-to-one with a manager. So that's our section on accelerators and how you can get your team started faster. Now I want to talk about AI in the news. And in a way, there's quite a lot that has happened this week. And in a way, not so much, considering the previous few weeks where we've had model releases from OpenAI with ChatGPT 5.1. We then had Gemini 3 Pro the week after. And then last week we had Opus 4.5 from Anthropic. There have been some model releases. I'm going to touch on that. But the main story that's going on this week is that the pace of development from Google and Anthropic has really shaken up OpenAI, who up until now have been really the dominant force when it comes to the models that are out there. For the majority of people, when we're thinking about children at school, universities, people in work, when they think AI, they think ChatGPT. But the developments that have gone on in the last couple of weeks, well, now Gemini is right up there. When people are creating images, they're using Nano Banana Pro, part of Gemini. When developers are writing code, they are using, in the main, Opus 4.5 from Anthropic. And so Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, in an internal meeting last week, declared a code red. This is OpenAI's time to really knuckle down and figure out how we can continue to extend our lead or regain our lead in this market. So I'm very much expecting new models or iterations to arrive this side of Christmas. There is a test model that is out there under a code name, and I'd expect that we'll see that in the next couple of weeks. Linked to that, this time last year, I think it started on maybe the 5th of December, OpenAI ran the 12 days of OpenAI, which was cheerfully renamed to the 12 Days of Shipmas by the Twitter community. Every day for 12 days, OpenAI launched a new feature or model. It is when we saw the O1 reasoning model get launched. It is when we saw projects get launched. It is when we saw Canvas get launched. And so the chat on X has been, are we going to see a 12 days of Shipmas this year? The only thing that I've seen to verify that is someone from OpenAI responding saying, we will be shipping. So let's see whether something kicks off later this week or early next week. But with that in mind, I was having a think, what would we like to see on our Christmas list? And these are just a few things that have come up through our conversations with clients over the last few months that we really think would help OpenAI and ChatGPT to really accelerate in its enterprise use cases. Those of you that are using projects, especially shared projects, will be experiencing the fact that once you've created a large number of projects, it's difficult to find them. You just end up with a list in your sidebar. So a great sort of file manager or folder manager would be great, that we could have folders of projects, just like we would with SharePoint or Google Drive. I would love, my bad spelling here, but self-updating context, that as you use a project, it can update its own files or its own instructions. And I would love to replicate what we can do at the moment in Claude, which is to link to a live Google Doc, or potentially in ChatGPT to link to live SharePoint doc, so that you don't have to keep uploading files. On voice, I would love to have a wake word that we can have voice running in the background, but just like you say SIRI or you say ALEXA, which I won't say them in case they turn up. It would be great to say, hey, ChatGPT, and for that to turn up and start listening in a meeting. So these are a few of the things. I've actually created it as a blog post, and we'll put the link in the follow-up email. But all I want for Shipmas, an enterprise users wish list for OpenAI. And in here, I have put descriptions of the 12 things that I would like to see. I've got no inside track here, so I'm not sneaking anything secret. This is just what we think would be really, really valuable. I talked about model launches earlier. DeepSeek is a Chinese frontier lab, and they provide open source models. So we contrast that with closed source, like a ChatGPT or an Anthropic, where the model and the code behind it is proprietary and closed, to open source, where these models are available on platforms like Hugging Face, and you can download it, you can run it locally, you can host it wherever you want. The reason why I put this in here, you may not be, very unlikely to be rolling out DeepSeek as the preferred tool across all of your employees in the way you might be with ChatGPT Enterprise. But your IT teams may well be building things internally and using some of these open source models. Why I think this is quite interesting is that open source has up until this point been behind the frontier closed source models in terms of the benchmarks. And now we're seeing this v3.2 Special being right at the top, comparable to GPT-5, Gemini 3.0. This hasn't got 4.5 Opus on the chart, but it's very much up there. And being open source, it's free or near free. Back when DeepSeek first launched earlier in the year, you may remember that the stock market fell significantly across tech stocks like Nvidia, and it made it onto the 10 o'clock news as being a big thing. So worth just keeping your eye on this, that some of these providers that you're not so familiar with are right up there at the frontier. This is not necessarily a release, but I saw this on X as a coming up soon, maybe some test screens. One of the reasons why I'm a big advocate of ChatGPT Enterprise has been projects, and especially shared projects. The ability to invite other people to discuss a single topic, a client, a document. And up until now, you've not been able to do that in Gemini. You could have a gem, which you could share with other people, but you couldn't actually discuss a topic in a set of chats together. And it looks like Gemini is rolling that out soon. So for any of you that are on Google Workspace, this is continues to validate Gemini as a very reasonable alternative to ChatGPT being part of your workspace licenses. And then hopping over to the other side of the fence to Microsoft 365, if any of you are in the Microsoft ecosystem, they just launched on the 1st of December, just a couple of days ago, a new SKU, Microsoft 365 Copilot Business SKU, which is really aimed at smaller organizations. So it is for anyone up to 300 users. So you're in that small and lower mid-sized business, this would fit you. And it's coming in with a lower list price of $21 per month. So coming in comparable to where ChatGPT Enterprise would be, and of course, part of your Microsoft ecosystem. Now, there's trade-offs with Copilot, as we've talked about on previous sessions. Yes, in the background, Copilot is using ChatGPT, or you can now select Anthropic as well. Yes, in theory, it's got all of these integrations into your existing Excel documents and Outlook. There's work to be done to get that to deliver on that promise. And so we certainly see a lot of Microsoft customers that roll out ChatGPT Enterprise or ChatGPT Business because they're not able to get the power of ChatGPT Pro and thinking models that they might otherwise want. So that's our AI in the news, quite a lot, and yet not so much. But hopefully over the week or so, especially if Shipmas comes along, we're going to have a lot of new products and features to talk about in the ChatGPT ecosystem. So now we've got a bit of time for some questions. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you want, either about anything that we've talked about or anything that's on your mind with ChatGPT or anything else. And I will do my best either to answer, or we can dive into ChatGPT and actually have a look at it live. I've got a few questions that have come up with customers this week to kick us off, in case anyone is shy of asking their questions. We talked a little bit earlier about GPTs, and one of the questions that comes up a lot is now about GPT proliferation, long word. But as people start creating GPTs, what is it that we should be doing as a company to get a handle on this? Specifically, I was talking to a few HR managers, and they were creating different GPTs for job descriptions, for HR policies, and they realized that they were essentially creating the same thing. And so how do you get a handle on this? For me, don't worry about it too much. The start is to get everyone experimenting and creating and learning how to write a prompt, to create a GPT, and to figure out the boundaries of what is possible. When should you use a GPT? When should you use a project? When do you use agent mode? When would you just use a deep research report? So you definitely don't want to lock that down and hold people back from that. But I think as an AI center of excellence, at some point, you've got to get a handle on that and start to come up with an internal process for how do we verify or approve these things. Whether that is, if you take our HR example there, that someone at the top of HR is then deciding this is what we should be doing and we're verifying these things, or it's someone in your AI center of excellence and it is someone in the IT team that is validating that. Question here from Stuart, thank you. Are there particular use cases that you would recommend other AI chatbots, such as Grok or Perplexity? This is a really good question. And let me start with Grok to start with. So for those of you that are not familiar with Grok, Grok is the AI platform from Elon Musk, and xAI is the company that Grok sits within. And I use Grok quite a lot. I use it for things that are about real-time information. If I'm trying to find out, is there an outage on something? If I'm trying to find out how to do a new integration with something that's just been launched, I'm asking Grok. And one of the reasons for that is that it's plugged in to X, which I use a lot, and it's plugged into that as a data source. So if lots of people are tweeting about, is Salesforce down? Is there a problem with this? Is there a problem with that? Then I find that is a great way of getting up-to-date information. Grok has got a lot of the functionality and features that we might expect in a ChatGPT or a Gemini or an Anthropic. I think the challenge that Grok has got to become enterprise enabled is trust. Trust in Elon, trust in XAI, trust that things are going to not break. I think as they continue to develop on their images, their videos, I think we're going to increasingly see them being a player that we'll talk about on these types of calls. For Perplexity, I think my jury is out. I'm seeing a lot of chatter on X, which is obviously where I spend a lot of time learning about these things. That increasingly the problems that Perplexity purported to solve in terms of citing responses are now being solved in these other platforms. When I first downloaded Perplexity, it was that. It was like, I want to know where you've got the source of this response. Since then, coming up with an AI-powered browser, and ChatGPT now has an AI-powered browser. So for me personally, I haven't opened Perplexity in a long time, more than a year. Grok, I go on to probably once a week when I'm trying to find something that is more immediate. Thanks for that question, Stuart. Another question that came up, kind of linked to the accelerators, but the question came up from a client about where should they start in terms of GPTs, in terms of projects, use cases for their team. And here I think a little bit about a framework which is called the ICE framework. The ICE stands for impact, the C is confidence, and the E is ease of implementation. And this is a good framework that you can use across your business when you're thinking about product development, you're thinking about ideas, how your sales team is going to target a different territory. So you score each of them out of 10. So if this thing worked, what would be the impact out of 10? Is it just going to help one person, or actually could this help a whole team or the whole company? If it worked, would this meaningfully change our company's revenue or the success of this team, or is it kind of a rounding error? So that's your impact, 1 to 10. Then you go the confidence. What's our confidence that this thing will work? And this is really important when you're thinking about ChatGPT use cases, projects, GPTs. How likely do we think this is going to work? If this is a really complex multi-step workflow requiring lots of and password protected sites and single sign-on, then my confidence that this thing is going to work in native ChatGPT or with limited integration is low. If this is, let's say, the one-to-one planner, we want to help everyone to have a consistent and well-prepared one-to-one. Well, my confidence that we can do that in native ChatGPT is very, very high. So I'm scoring that more like an 8 or 9 rather than a 1. And then the third is the ease of implementation. So how easy is it going to be able to implement this thing? And here again, we're thinking about native ChatGPT at the core. Like, can we do this in the UI, the desktop app, the mobile app? Or is this going to require integration, data cleaning, multi-step workflow? Because if it's more complex, IT involvement, we need security checks and so on. So when I'm looking at these use cases, especially once we've completed training with a client and they're now thinking about, right, what's our top 10 kind of use cases we're going to start, we're going through this ICE framework. Impact out of 10, confidence out of 10, and ease of implementation out of 10 gives us a score out of 30. And if we come up with 30 or 40 different use cases across a team, it's now super easy to rank those by looking at the scores out of 30 and go, right, this is where we should focus our effort. The things that are going to be most impactful, we're confident could work, and they're going to be relatively easy to implement. And then the third other question that I had today, which is kind of linked a little bit to what I was talking about in AI in the news. We touched on this a bit last week. With all of these new models coming out, should I be switching provider? We have rolled out OpenAI. Should we be thinking about moving to something else? We have rolled out Claude. Should we be thinking about moving to Gemini? And my advice is just hold your horses. It is very easy to get drawn into this race that is going on. And I think about watching cycling racing. I don't know if you ever watched the Tour de France or maybe at the Olympics, you watch them going around the velodrome. And in any of these team races, well, not even not in the team races, you will see that there'll be an individual at the front that is out there and is taking all of the wind in their face. And you can only do that for a certain period of time before you have to sort of come back and let someone else take the front. And in a long stage in the Tour de France, you will see that individuals in completely different teams will be taking this role because they all know that they've got to work together to get to the end and then be in a chance of winning. And so as I see ChatGPT 5.1 come out, as I see Gemini 3 come out, as I see Opus 4.5 come out, this is what I'm imagining in my mind. Yes, there's someone else in the front right now, but tomorrow it'll be one of the others. So my recommendation is don't be model jumping left, right, and center because the next day another model will be in front. But also your success in whichever platform you've chosen is going to come from going deep on how that model works and training all of your employees on the nuances of projects and GPTs or gems in Gemini or skills in Claude. Teaching people across your organization how to get the best of the model is where you're going to get more of an output than model hopping every couple of weeks. So with that, I will say thank you very much. No other questions. I hope you have found this useful. As soon as this is finished, literally within an hour, we will put up the recordings on the Wednesday webinars page. Now that's useful if I went through anything or demonstrated anything that you want to go back to, but there may be others in your organization that you think, if only you could have seen what Charlie talked about OKR writing, and then you've got the ability to go back to the previous one. So custom GPTs, projects, and prompt writing last week and so on. And then next week, we are going to be diving into an individual industry, well, not industry, a role, ChatGPT for marketing leaders. We're going to be talking about different marketing use cases. How do you build out marketing strategy? How do you run positioning workshops? And so definitely share that with anyone in your team that is in a marketing role. And we look forward to seeing you same time next week, 3 p.m. If you're here in the UK, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or your corresponding time zone. So with that, thank you very much. Thanks for the questions, and I'll see you next week.